Hey, this is Nikki G and welcome to Better Commander. Today we're embracing our inner child and going off the rails with Jodah, Archmage Eternal. There's so much lore on this guy and I tried to read the whole thing but it put me into a dang coma. When I woke up I was looking at a card called Ragman, so you know I went deep into a depression that I had never ever seen that card before. Anyways, look at this heap and hunk of man. Jodah's the kind of guy that won't even tell you his last name. I'm sorry, Mr. Jodah, we need a last name to book the room. Eternal? Mr. Eternal? Okay, well, I mean, he floated away. Bob, the guy floated away. Hey, Bob. I mean, listen, it's 2022. Jodah made his first appearance in Dominaria, so why the heck are we building a deck now? Well, he got a reprint in Double Masters, and if you're depressed when you open a booster and see this beautiful man, I'm here to lift your spirits with a big mana fun budget combo deck. I recently read a comment on one of my videos where the commenter called me a Timmy. Not in an insulting way, but just to say that a deck I built had a very high curve. I mean, heck yeah, I'm a Timmy at times. You know, we all have a burning desire to cast Emergent Ultimatum or enter the infinite. Alright, so let's Timmy right out the door with a $125 budget big mana Jodah deck. As of the date of this recording, you can get the whole thing for $123, optimizing the heck out of your card on TCG Player. First though, if you enjoy MTG and budget decks and my Ragman commentary, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, comment, or whatever you feel. It helps with the algorithm. So probably the most interesting thing about building a 5-color deck like this is configuring the mana base. We want to ramp Jodah out early and we want color fixing. There are 20 or so ramp and color fixing cards in this deck, which is a lot. Alright, before we get into the ramp, let's read our commander. So Jodah Archmage Eternal is 1 blue, red, and a white for a legendary creature, human wizard. It's a 4/3. With flying, it says you may pay Wooburg rather than play the mana cost for spells that you cast. Alright, so the goal is to get to Wooburg on turns 3, 4, or 5. You can have a perfectly functional mana base with lots of basics and no fetch lands. You just need cards to fetch them out, like Farseek, Rampant Growth, Cultivate, Kodama's Reach. In the 3-drop slot, we also have a Harrow, 2 and a green for an instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a land. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Remember, number 1, that Harrow is an instant. Also, the lands that come in untapped, so you can ramp into another 2-mana ramp spell if it's your turn or whatever. So most, if not all, of our ramp is going to be green base, so cards like Birds of Paradise. This card is the best 1-drop mana ramp color fixing spell in Magic the Gathering. There are a ton of 2 mana value dorks like Elysian Caryatidid, 1 and a green for a creature plant. It's a 1/1. Tap, add 1 mana of any color. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, add 2 mana of any one color instead. Well, guess what, brother? Jodah has 4 power, so as soon as he's out, we can tap for 2 mana. If there was ever a deck that wanted Chromatic Lantern, this is it. We need intense mana fixing, and this just takes all that off the table. You don't have to worry about it. So it's 3 generic mana for an artifact. Lands you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. And it also has tap, add 1 mana of any color. This is a big mana deck, so we want mana doublers like Mirari's Wake. So this is 3 green and white for an enchantment. Creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana of any type that land produced. We also have Zendikar Resurgent, which has very similar text, except whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. Alright, so Jodah's going to get removed, you just have to face that fact. So we want to be able to cast the giant sorceries we've packed into this deck, so our doublers and ramp will come in super handy late game so we can go off. A big theme of this deck is casting huge spells for reduced cost, and as such there are a few support cards we can rely on in case Jodah gets Swordsdid or Pathdid or Unmade 100 times. Cards like Sunbird's Invocation, 5 and a red for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a spell from your hand, reveal the top X cards of your library where X is that spell's mana value. You may cast a spell with mana value X or less from among cards revealed this way without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Pretty awesome. We also have Emoti, Celebrant of Bounty is 3 green and a blue for a legendary creature Naga Druid. It's a 3/1. It has Cascade. So spells you cast with mana value 6 or greater also have Cascade. There are 34 spells that will trigger Emoti, so we get a ton of value from this cute little celebratory frog. Don't forget, Emoti cascades too. Jodah's only 4 mana value card in the deck, so you'll probably get a ramp spell or a protection piece, either of which plays right into our game plan. We also have Maelstrom Archangel, the Platinum Blonde. It has Wooburg, creature, angel, 5/5. Has flying. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may cast a spell from your hand without paying its mana cost. It's a solid value piece, so we can get where we need to go. Oh, save the best for last here. Narset, Enlightened Master, 3 blue, red, and white for a legendary creature. It's a human monk, 3/2 with first strike and hexproof. Whenever Narset Enlightened Master attacks, exile the top 4 cards of your library. Until the end of turn, you may cast non-creature spells from among those cards without paying their mana cost. There are only 13 total creatures in this mess of a deck, and Narset is arguably a better commander than Jodah. So we also have Lightning Greaves, Swiftfoot Boots in the deck. We can slap them onto Narset, we're off to the races. Both of these cards also function as protection pieces, which is a nice transition into our protection suite. We need Jodah out there, or else we're stuck in La La Land. Slip Out the Back is 1 blue mana for an instant. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. It phases out. Treat it and anything attached to it as though they don't exist until its controller's next turn. This is an awesome card in this deck. So the only creature we really need out there is probably going to be Jodah. We also want a few straight counters if we need to maintain our board state, and I'm using this card as much as I can while it's cheap. An offer you can't refuse is 1 blue mana for an instant. Counter target non-creature spell. Its controller creates 2 treasure tokens. Okay, so things are going our way. We have Wooburg mana on the battlefield, we have Jodah out, and now we want to win. I won't belabor every huge sorcery in the deck, but I want to highlight just a few. Brass's Bounty is 6 and a red for a sorcery. For each land you control, create a treasure token. This can actually net us mana, especially if we copy it with our next card, which is Mnemonic Deluge, 6 blue for a sorcery. Exile target instant or sorcery card from a graveyard. Copy that card 3 times. You may cast the copy without paying their mana cost. Exile Mnemonic Deluge. This is awesome in this deck. There's so many cards that end up in our graveyard that we can get massive value from this. And we have a card called Apex of Power, yeah, 7 red for a sorcery. Exile the top 7 cards of your library. Until the end of turn, you may cast spells from among them. If the spell was cast from your hand, add 10 mana of any one color. I believe you resolve the parts of this card in order and can choose the color of mana after you see the exiled cards, but I may be wrong. Let me know in the comments, you butt nuts. Part of the reason I built this deck is because I wanted to cast the ultimatums. I have several of them in here, but not all the ultimatums. These cards aren't great in a standard deck, but they really shine here. Each one has some card advantage stapled on so we can dig for our win conditions. I also have just a couple spicy tutors that can help us win the game. We have Conflux, which is 3 in Wooburg for a sorcery. Search your library for a white card, a blue card, a black card, a red card, and a green card. Reveal those cards, put them into your hand, then shuffle. So this is from the rulings. You can find multicolored cards with Conflux. The white card you find, for example, can be any number of colors, as long as white is one of them. What colors it is won't impact what the other cards are you can find. For example, you can find a white-blue card as the white card, and another white-blue card as the blue card. Probably one of the best cards in the deck is Emergent Ultimatum. It's 2 black, 2 green, and 2 blue for a sorcery. Search your library for up to 3 monocolored cards with 3 different names, and exile them. An opponent chooses one of those cards. Shuffle that card into your library. You may cast the other cards without paying their mana cost. Exile Emergent Ultimatum. This puts our opponents in a really bad position. We should probably get 3 cards. The first one is Omniscience, 7 blue for an enchantment. You may cast spells from your hand without paying their mana costs. The second is going to be Enter the Infinite, 8 blue for a sorcery. Draw cards equal to the number of cards in your library, then put a card from your hand on top of your library. You have no maximum hand size until your next turn. I really want to highlight this art. So this is basically me looking at the rack of chips at the grocery store on a Sunday afternoon. And the last is Laboratory Maniac. It's 2 and a blue for a creature. It's a human wizard, 2/2. If you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. It's going to be a real conundrum. If they give us Enter the Infinite and Labman, we win. All we need to do is to be able to draw a couple cards with, say, Brainstorm or something like that. Or they have to give us Omniscience, which should end the game anyways. We're casting massive spells for free and can dig out Enter the Infinite with the rest of the cards in our hands. If we have nothing in our hands, we can eschew Lab Maniac and choose Omniscience and whatever else makes sense. They never want to give us Omniscience, so we can get massive value off, say, Sunbird's Invocation and Mnemonic Deluge or Praetor's Council, which is 5 green for a sorcery. Return all cards from your graveyard to your hand. Exile Praetor's Council. You have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. And if we have massive mana from ramping out all game and doubling everything, then we have a fireball in there to take out the stragglers. As far as lands go, we need green mana in our opening hand, so we could either go with tap tri-lands for a budget mana vase, we could do the vivid lands, or we could do the newer thriving lands. I went with the thriving lands. I think if we have to pick tap lands, these are the most versatile. I also have the world tree in there, but I have no gods to speak of, so that's kind of a red herring for our opponents. If I was going to upgrade this thing, I'd put in some better counter magic. I'd probably throw in some tutors, maybe an enlightened tutor to get omniscience. Should you run Fist of Suns? Heck yeah, I should run Fist of Suns, but it got a bit pricey, so I left it out of this deck. It's just a cheaper copy of your commander, and I would definitely run it if I had one lying around. I'd probably replace Labman with Thassa's Oracle. Obviously, that's a bit of a better card. I mean, listen, man, this is a pretty reliable commander combo deck that you can wield the infinite power of ultimatums. You can get omniscience out there. It's fun. It can be extraordinarily explosive. So check it out. It's a different take on a classic commander that will be fun for you and your whole dang family. This is going to be Nikki G from Better Commander, signing off.